you never know who you're going to run into at Super Bowl Media Row. And we have Donovan McNabb here. Donovan, first of all, how are you? How's everything going?
Doing outstanding. Everything is good. Just enjoying the festivities, so to speak. Do my podcast and then see some old familiar faces as I walk around here. But now that I'm ready to go and work out and get something to eat.
All right, well, we will keep it quick. I do want to ask you about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
We were there in the locker room after the regular season game in Arizona last year between the Eagles and the Cardinals, and you came in, you and Jalen had a bit of a conversation. I think it's probably fair to say that nobody in the world understands what Jalen Hurts is going through right now more than you do in terms of the media coverage. I think you know the answer to that. So from your vantage point, what is like the most important thing for him this offseason?
Well, just clear his head. I think for all of us who kind of go through seasons where you hide and seasons where it kind of dumps and you're just kind of preparing yourself. I think for Jalen, the thing that I try to talk to him with is just kind of stay in the moment. Stay in the moment, understand what has led you to this point, what you can clean up, and get back to your preparation. And so for him, he's like me. Just kind of put your nose on the ground and grind. And you know, his offseason will consist of getting his body together, getting in shape, make sure he's ready and ready to throw and ready to learn. But the thing that's different this year is he's got to learn a new offense. And so he's learning an offense that Kellen Moore has had with Dak Prescott, you know, Justin Herbert. And so now the comparisons are going to come with those two particular guys for him. And it's not going to be so much of what it's been before. So he understands that, I think, now. And, I mean, if they don't have good season this year, then, I mean, other heads are going to start to roll over there in Philly.
And obviously your time in Philadelphia was with Andy Reid. The offense never really changed that much. We sort of talked about last season, it was Jalen's first year getting to play in the same offense for the second time since he was in high school, and they went to the Super Bowl. Now he's got to change it again. How difficult do you feel like that will be for him?
It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult, and I think a lot of people aren't going to understand it. They're just going to wait for the result. And so it takes time and patience. And for, you know, Jalen, it's really, you look at it because it's comparable to what Kellen Moore had in Dallas. Only thing is, now is he going to run the ball more? You know, because that was the whole thing why Mike McCarthy took over in Dallas, because he wanted to establish the run more. And so that was the whole thing that kind of faltered a little bit in Philly toward the end, was they kind of almost abandoned the run as much. When you got a running back that's got over 1,000 yards rushing. Like DeAndre Swift had his best year in his career.
Right.
And he was healthy enough where he can get out there and compete. So I think for Kellen Moore, that's something that he's going to have to take on, because this ain't Dallas and this ain't California.
If you think about Andy Reid, 25 years ago last month he was hired.
Yeah.
25 years ago in April you were drafted.
See how loose he said that? I knew it, but yeah.
And I ask that because you look at the past 25 years of Eagles history, it doesn't look like the 25 years before that. The infrastructure that kind of you and Andy put in place 25 years ago, how much do you think that played a part in what's happened during this quarter century?
Oh, it was a major help for him to understand how to retool, how to improve, and things to eliminate. And so it's funny because we talk about it all the time, he and I, and it's just kind of like, he's like, the only reason that this has been successful here is because of what we've done in Philly. And I go, well, what do you mean? He's like, what did I start with? It's like, started with a quarterback. Then what did I go with? Offensive line, D-line. What was kind of the options after that? It was like skill position guys. And he's like, the things that we weren't able to complete, I understood what I did wrong, and I'm doing it here. And I'm like, well, that helps me out, like, you know.
Yeah.
But again, I could have aided more in that. But that's what Patrick has understood. And Patrick only knows one way because Patrick has only been with Andy. And so I knew one way because I was just with Andy. So our methodical approach was very similar, changed every now and then, but it was very similar. And so that's why he's been very successful. That's why Patrick has been very successful. That's why the organization has been mentioned. And it's funny because you talk 25 years, we were probably second or third behind New England or maybe Indy as far as a winning percentage and the success rate that we had in over a decade. Here, it's been the same almost, but he's been number one. And so New England at that particular, it's funny because Tom was there for so long, but New England still, but then he's now moved to the #1 spot in the success that he's had with the Kansas City Chiefs.
You got to get going, so one very last one for you. How weird is it, we're all sort of trying to figure out how healthy Jalen Hurts is,
Right.
when you are the guy and it's your body that everybody is talking about?
Well, I mean, that happens with me being such a sex symbol. Everyone talks about my body.
Thank you so much, Donovan McNabb.
You know, but you know what? It's what else can they talk about?
Yeah.
And I do Philly radio every Monday or Tuesday if they play Monday night. And I get tired of the questions of, well, you know, do you think that, you know, his leadership qualities of not being vocal? And I'm like, you didn't say nothing about him the last couple of years. Why are you talking about his leadership? Everyone talked about how great of a leader he was. Well, do you think that he's not telling us how hurt he is? What player tells you how hurt he is? And so it's either you're hurt or you're injured. And we're always going to be banged up. But, you know, we're not going to take ourselves out. And I think that's where Jalen was. Yeah, he was banged up a little bit, but he was healthy enough to play. It just didn't come to the result that he wanted. And this year will be a little bit different.
Donovan McNabb, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.